Even if you don't have children, it is so vital that we're developing that next generation. So my goal in speaking at the summit, which I'm honored to do this year, is to really equip people with tools from my communications background, from my background in journalism, and from working with executives that are dealing with very high stakes situations.
The future we're trying to build is a much more human-centered future, right? That has been the conversations we've had on this podcast with our audience over the years. My experience with School Connect over the last few years, it's always been about building a much more human-centered future.
We're gonna have tables across the floor of the arena, and there is this energy that ripples across the room when people know that there's something that's about to happen, right? They're about to make connections. They're about to meet other leaders who care and who are the movers and shakers. This is a leadership. These are your leaders who are open, they're ready, they're listening to what's relevant.
Welcome back to the Future Human Experience. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez. This is a very special episode because I'm not only joined with friends, but we're going to talk about a wonderful event that's upcoming here in Arizona. I'm joined by Kristy and Shay. Thank you so much for being part of the Future Human Experience.
Thank you for having us today.
We're so excited.
Well, Shay, get us started. What is coming up here in Arizona? We have a special summit. It's called the School Connect Summit. Tell us a little bit more about the special event.
Yeah, so the School Connect Summit that's coming up in January is the 12th annual School Connect Summit. And we're so excited because this is all about how we can build partnerships that can ignite the future. So our nonprofit, School Connect, is a local nonprofit that helps connect community support around local schools. Because we know that if we can build a village around those schools, that every student has the potential to have the resources, the connections, and the support they need to really ignite their potential. And that's what the summit is all about. It's recognizing that as leaders in Arizona, it's going to take all of us to come together to really look at what's important, what matters for education, for economics, for politics, for our whole future. How can we come together and really pay attention to what our kids need, what our communities need, and work together to change things for the future?
I love that. And I think it's an example of not only how we bring community together, but how we're building the future workforce, the future generation. I think School Connect has been so ahead of that. With that said, we also have an amazing closing keynote speaker for this event, Kristy, who's going to be there as our closing keynote speaker. Tell us a little bit more, Kristy, about what you have in mind. Tease us a little bit about what the conversation you're going to have with the audience that day.
I would love to. I first want to say that I love to be back with School Connect and with you. I come from a long line of educators from kindergarten level through elementary school, through doctorate level. And so education is near and dear to my heart. So I love to be a part of this event for that reason alone. And to your point, Eric, even if you don't have children, even if you aren't connected to children in the community directly, it is so vital that we're developing that next generation. So my goal in speaking at the summit, which I'm honored to do this year, is to really equip people with tools from my communications background, from my background in journalism, and from working with executives that are dealing with very high stakes situations, and help people realize where they're making mistakes they may not even realize they're making. Everything from making assumptions about potential partners people were trying to collaborate with and how we're communicating as a result, looking at translating the different systems that we're within. Schools talk one language, nonprofits speak another, faith-based organizations speak another, government speaks another, private sector speaks another. So how do we translate what is in each sector and what's most important to us to create collaboration? And then finally, I'm really looking forward to giving people some tools to say the hard thing, the thing that we maybe don't want to share. We want to look polished. We want to look like we have our act together. We want that Instagram perfect version. What is it you're not saying about your situation or your organization situation that's keeping you from having a real partnership? So I'm thrilled to be speaking on all those topics, and we're going to have a lot of interactivity. We'll have table discussions. So you're taking tools, you're talking to people across sectors, and you're leaving not just motivated and inspired, but with some real questions and tools for when you hit the ground running the following week.
Oh my God, that gets me so excited for this event. But more importantly, we're going to this event to learn, to get some new tools to go back into our communities and do something with them. That's what I love about these summits, right? It's not just there for us to connect and network. It's up there to also up-level our game as community leaders, as teachers, as administrators, to go back into our communities and continue to support the next generation.
And I'd love to share something too
Yeah.
about up-leveling and being part of the
Yeah.
community. I've had the honor for several years to host School Connect, but this year, my man Eric is going to be our host. And I'm
Yeah.
excited to see you in action and watch you create this experience of connection and collaboration, one of your many gifts, Eric. So it's going to be great to have you be our host.
Thank you so much, Kristy. I'm going to do my best to fill in your amazing shoes.
You're going to do awesome
throughout all these years. But it reminds me, right, that at the end of the day, the future we're trying to build is a much more human-centered future, right? That has been the conversations we've had on this podcast with our audience over the years. And I think that has also been my experience with School Connect over the last few years. It's always been about building a much more human-centered future. With that said, it reminds me that one of the things we've had a conversation in our podcast and our episodes in the past has been the way you build community, the way you build partnerships is just being of service to other people. It's not saying raising your hand and saying, okay, who's going to come here and help me? It's more like, how can I help you? And I think School Connect does an amazing job on bringing those conversations to life. And if you are interested, if this resonates with you, please look into our link below in our show notes. You'll learn more about the event and how you could sign up. With that said, Shay, one of the things that someone might be listening to this today, have been following School Connect for some time, or they're interested in the education market, or they're serving the education space, but they're also swamped, right? I mean, being of service to others is hard work. It's busy. It's, and every single day you have an opportunity to serve a child and impact a child. It's a big commitment. But now we're asking them to just, for one day, spend some time with us. Tell us a little bit more about why a summit like this is not only impactful and important, but what have you seen in the past when people that attend the summit have a chance to bring some of these tools back into their communities?
Absolutely. So absolutely, Eric. One of the things that is exciting about this year is we're going to be back at Grand Canyon University at the Global Credit Union arena. And what that means is we're going to have tables across the floor of the arena. And there is this energy that ripples across the room.
Yeah.
When people know that there's something that's about to happen, right? They're about to make connections. They're about to meet other leaders who care and who are the movers and shakers. This is a leadership.
Yeah.
These are your leaders who are open, they're ready, they're listening to what's relevant, and they're actively looking at how can I partner. So some of the things that have come out of this would be things like American Council of Engineering Companies, ACEC, has had a wonderful opportunity. They came to the summit, they sat down, they listened, and they said, we have an amazing amount of engineers that could do something with the students here. What if we were to do something bigger than just help one school? What if there was more than a partnership that was one local partnership? But what if we were to open that up and do field trips at universities and and invite students from many different school districts? And that came out of that thought process that happened, and that led to our classroom to career workshop that you've been able to keynote at, Eric. And it's just an example of the impact that it can have on students. So I would say if you're on the fence and you're asking the question, I'm so busy and I'm so overwhelmed, find a team of people who want to help you, that you don't have to pay, who want to show up and be in your corner.
I love that. Kristy, with that said, we're entering this era of communication via digital tools. Today, like you were just saying, we have all these stakeholders that communicate differently, but we're also using different tools. One of the things I love about your work is that you've been not only inspiring, but you've been equipping us with that importance of that human connection. Can you tell us a little bit more? Again, we don't need to spill the beans of the keynote, but just a little bit of insight on why these human connections, why these human communications are so needed today, but more importantly, why they're needed today in education.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. And I'm going to ask you two a question in answer to your question.
Yeah.
Do you feel you can tell when somebody's using AI to communicate for them?
Yes.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, thumbs up. And what do each of you think and feel when you believe somebody's just used their AI tool to communicate with you? What do you think of them? Irritated, she said. How about for you?
That they're not putting in the time to have a thoughtful conversation with me.
Yeah. So what you two have just said is representative of what recent research has shown, that some studies have shown that up to 84% of people think they can spot AI. And then over half of those individuals immediately lose trust in that individual and respect them less.
There you go.
So I bring up only AI as a kickoff
Yeah.
because we lean on these tools. We think it's easy. I don't have to think for myself. I'm not quite sure how to say it. We're letting our worry about perfectionism or saying it the right way or even being a little lazy get in the way of making a real human connection. And stepping back, and we're going to walk through this in the keynote, and really looking at what does my audience need from me? What does that partner need from me? And how am I taking the time to really get in their shoes before I ever think about my communication, before I ever blast an email, sit down for a high stakes conversation, make a reel for social media? And people are craving that connection. You look at Zoom fatigue. That was a term that started trending during the pandemic. It is very real. Like our brains are struggling to pay attention and to read what are called micro expressions, these little instants of under 1/25th of a second that show human emotion and show us how to move a conversation forward. So as digital tools are great, AI is great, but in the midst of high stakes conversations, and our conversation around education is very high stakes. We need to be doubling down on those skills of interpersonal connection, having hard conversations, speaking in a way people understand, and not just leaning on technology as a crutch for us. We need to put in some of that fundamental work that, frankly, is often not taught to us. So we have to learn it as adults.
And that's what I think makes these summits so special, right? They create these moments, to your point, Shay, and to your point, Kristy, in the past, that we have seen these, frankly, vulnerable moments, right? That someone comes in and our community says either, this is what I'm struggling with, I still don't know how to figure this out. But you meet with someone else that either wants to be of service or is, again, vulnerable enough to say, hey, how can I help you? Because this is what I think you need. But let's have a conversation so we can figure this out. And I think that's the true authentic work on how you build not only community, but sustainable, lasting impact in not only education, but in different industries as well. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing in multiple sectors, right? That it's the folks that take their time, do the slow work, listen, build connections, understand each other. And then you can build something that's not only sustainable, it's scalable, and more importantly, it's impactful into our communities. So I'm so excited about this event. If you're listening to this and you've gotten this through School Connect or through our social platforms, please take the time to learn a little bit more about the event. Again, we'll have the links for that as well in our show notes. And of course, you can learn more about Kristy and Shay as well in their social platforms. Shay, speaking about vulnerability, not only the conversations that we have, but you're going to feature some stories too about some powerful moments that some school districts have lived through over the last year or so. Can you share with us a little bit more about what folks could possibly see in the summit?
Absolutely. So I know that we use the word community a lot. We throw that term around everywhere. But when you have real life situations, especially serious situations where there are safety needs and decisions that need to be made immediately, and you need people to show up in your corner and be there for you, that's when community shines even more. So yesterday, I had the honor of being out at Miami Unified, and I got to tour their school, and I got to talk to students and staff and just ask them about how they were, ask them about what their what happened, what their experience was like with the flash floods that happened this last fall, and then also find out from them, where are you now? What does the future look like, right? And what they said to me was that it was a terrifying experience, but it was also in this really challenging time, there was the beauty of people coming together. There was the beauty of the human spirit, human resilience, and people showing up for one another. And so not only did that happen all hands on deck with immediate, pushing water and helping rescue people and working together, that happened, but also the kids were watching. And they realized as they were watching, they recognized that how much it meant. And they started one of the things that's coming out of this is they want to do something themselves. They want to start a student emergency response team.
Inspired by what they saw.
Because they thought, you know what, I don't want to just be a reactive. I want to be a part of making a future that we're ready for, that we're organized, prepared. So it was a beautiful thing to be able to see them react and respond with resilience and hope.
And this story will be featured in the summit, but not only that, but you'll be able to learn more about it as you follow School Connect on the social platforms and on their channel. So we're looking forward to sharing that story with the rest of the world. Kristy, with that said though too, this is a story of connection, opportunities for us to come together, being part of the learning and development space. I think sometimes when we see these conferences come into our calendars or a possibility for us to go there, we're like, should I go to this? Do I have time to go to this? I'm busy. Do you have any guidance or advice of what you have seen being part of this space on making sure you're investing in yourself and in your community because of what you could possibly learn in these summits?
You brought up such a good question that so many of us ask, and I see it again and again as I lead workshops or work with individuals, coaching them one-on-one. I don't have the time. This is going to take me away from my work I need to get done. Forced activities to bring us all together. And if they're done poorly, it can be that. I promise you, there won't be cheese. I have fun with you guys, but it won't be cheesy. It's going to be practical. The dividends, the payoff of investing this half day is huge. And when you think about the consequences of not doing it, right? We all respond as humans. I'm a psychology nerd. You guys will learn more about this at the summit. But some of us respond best to pain. Some of us respond best to pleasure. For those of you who think about the consequences of not investing this time now, is your school potentially shutting down? Is your nonprofit losing funding? Is your business not getting the reaching its goals as a result of being in the community the way that it needs? So there are big consequences to saying, I'm going to block out these 3 hours and I'm just going to get my job done today. We all have busy lives. We all use hours the same way. The 3 hours that you spend here will pay dividends for years. And I'm not saying that as fluff. It is absolutely true. The relationships that I've seen built come out of this summit. Invest in yourself. You are shortchanging yourself if you think 3 hours, I'm not going to get anything out of this. The returns will be huge.
Or I'll just go to the next one or to the next thing, right? It becomes the next thing. And knowing that this is the 12th annual summit, it's because this is working, right? Yes. Like the connections here, the partnerships, it's for the long term. So with that said, something fun that we like to do in all of our episodes of the Future Human Experience is that we ask our guests to come up with a surprise question for me. I've known y'all for several years now, so it's going to be fun to see what y'all have in mind for me.
We can still surprise you, Eric.
So what do you have in store for me today?
I'm going to let Shay go first.
Okay.
Oh, goodness, Kristy. You two are the pros, and I get to go first every time. Okay, I am fascinated with the fact that you lived in Ecuador in your childhood. My husband's mother, so my mother-in-law, also lived in Ecuador. She grew up there.
What?
And so I've grown up hearing all these stories about Ecuador. So I would love to know what's your favorite thing about Ecuador that you miss more than anything else?
Ooh, that I miss. That's a great question. Oh my God. I would say, the standard was my friends, my cousins, my family, of course. But I would say the other part is I miss the soccer environment. Like I used to love to go to soccer games and just be part of that community, the vibe. And like just for the next 2 hours, you're kind of just locked in. And we have something close to that with football and baseball here. But man, being part of a soccer environment in Ecuador was just something else that I haven't had a chance to share with my kids yet. I would love to take them to a stadium there. We're going to try to relive it as close as we can in the World Cup, but that's also just a different vibe. But yeah, I do miss going to the soccer games on a Sunday evening and just being there. Maybe it's also because I was spending time with my dad. Those are moments I'll spend time with him that, again, I don't remember the scores. I don't remember, the result of that, but I just remember spending time with him and with my family. So thank you, Shay. I've never gotten that one.
Bring your kids to the School Connect Summit, and they're going to get the equivalent
there you go.
of the soccer experience.
The same energy is going to be present.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, that has helped me actually understand how people experience different shows or different type of experiences.
Live
right?
experiences.
Correct. Live experiences, right?
Yeah.
So if you're gonna honor someone with the time that they're giving you, and you're going to be an event host or a keynote speaker, how do you bring that experience to life as close as possible? I learned it a lot actually from live experiences in sports. Yeah.
I think one of the things that, one of my favorite things about the work that we get to do is I get to be kind of like a fly on the wall, right? I get to be in the background. I get to hear, I get to interview a lot of children, a lot of educators and hear about what's going on for them. And I think that the power of the leaders of Arizona coming together and actually doing something, if you think about how much that impacts a child's life, that's the thing that it just kind of gives me shivers when I ask them, what do you want to be? What do you dream about?
Yes.
And sometimes those kids have answers that just like floor me. Like they say, I want to find the cure for cancer, right? And they're crying and they are passionate about that.
Yes.
And sometimes those kids don't have an answer because they haven't had enough support and enough
Think about
to have a vision for their
Yeah.
future. And so what we have the opportunity to do is to stand up and say, hey, we can do something that makes a difference here, not just in a fluffy way, but in a real, tangible way. And so that's, I think, what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I love that. Kristy, what do you have in store for me today?
Her question's so
I know, her
good.
question
I
was
just want to
great.
leave it on that.
Okay.
My question is
Sure.
tied to the summit
Okay.
and tied
Yeah.
to these themes of effective communication, having hard conversations, and assumptions that we make about people, because we do this as we partner with businesses, with schools, with each other as individuals. What assumption have you found out that people make about you that isn't really true?
Oh, that I'm a 100% no matter what pro tech all the way. I think because I come from the tech sector, a lot of folks think like, oh, Eric is just, technology all the way. Technology is the future, and after they have an opportunity to talk to me, they're like, they understand that technology is simply just a tool to extend our human experience. And that, yes, I do love technology. I think it's a fantastic tool, but we have to use it wisely. We have to be very intentional with how we use it. And the best way that we can implement these type of tools is by having those conversations with our communities, right? Just because I'm going to implement a certain piece of technology in a certain way in Phoenix School District doesn't mean it's going to work great for an Oakland School District or a Houston School District, right? Because those are vastly different communities. And so I think that's why events like School Connect are so important, because it gives us that opportunity to come together, have those difficult conversations, thoughtful conversations to understand what are our needs, what are our challenges that we have, that we could have the most important tools possible or the tools that are needed today to make sure we are addressing those challenges. So again, I am so excited for this event. Thank you again for trusting in me to be your event host. If you're listening to this and you have the same level of excitement that all three of us have to be part of this event for you, please sign up, be part of our summit. And we'll continue this conversation about igniting partnership and igniting the future of the next generation. Kristy, Shay, thank you so much for being part of the Future Human Experience today.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm inspired to hear that these conversations are resonating within our communities, our organizations, our companies, and our households all around the world. If you found this conversation to be valuable, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else. I do believe that as the future gets much more digitized, it gives us an opportunity to be much more human as well. And these conversations are part of that journey. So if you're enjoying the content on this channel, please check out these videos. Thank you.